I'm here at the overseas call centre of a large insurance company. With me is customer service team leader Mr. Volty. Mr. Volty, how easy is it to provide great insurance service to your customers?
Well, we're on another continent. You can never get through. We've no idea who you are, and we're only allowed to work from a script with the information on the screen in front of us. Frankly, you'd be better with High House.
High House Insurance, your local experts. High House Insurance don't pay to be on comparison websites, so your premiums are better value. For a free, no-obligation quote, call Chelsea 606 552. High House, local, reliable insurance. High Street, Chelsea.
Yes, indeed. Manhood Internet Radio, the station that cares. And welcome to What's On, our weekly look at what's going on in and around the area for the coming week. Well, on Tuesday the 15th of December, there's the swing and dance classes at the Methodist Hall in Selsey, and that's 7 until 8 p.m. And at the Fisherman's Joy, there's the Ace Poker League, so for £1 admin fee you can join that, and the idea is that you build up points towards the grand final, and then you can win some rather good cash prizes. And also in Selsey there's the ladies netball at the academy, and that's from 7 till 8 p.m. That's £3, and if you want any more information on that you can call Penny on 07762 922 405. Now on Wednesday the 16th of December you got Selsey Community Choir at the Methodist Hall in High Street in Selsey. That's 7 till 8:30 p.m. and that's under the guidance of musical director Matt Hoff, who's a very talented, very funny and most entertaining young man. And also on Wednesday, down at the Selsey Centre, there's a blood donor session, and that's from 2 till 4:30 and from 5:30 till 7:45. So you go down there and give some blood, and they'd appreciate it very much. On Thursday the 17th of December, Link, that's Ladies in Contact, they're meeting at St Peter's Church Hall at 7:15 p.m. And there's a quiz night at the Fisherman's Joy at 8:30. And I believe they have bingo in between quiz sessions, and so if you can't win at the quiz, well, you might be lucky in the bingo. On Friday the 18th at the Selsey Centre, the U3A have Andy and Carol Beaumont as their guest speakers with a Christmas concert and audience participation from 2:30. On Saturday the 19th at the British Legion in Selsey, they've got live music with Freeway. So if you'd like some live music and some decent beer and decent company, get yourself down to the Legion. Also on Saturday the 19th, over in Donington at the Donington Hall, there's a quiz night with a fish and chip supper. Now this is £10 per person, teams of up to 6 people, and at 6:30 for a 7 p.m. start. And if you'd like any more information on that, you can contact Angie on 01243 774 399. Which brings us to Sunday the 20th. Now, if you're looking for something to do on Sunday the 20th, why not go across to the RSPB at Pagham Harbour and Benbury, and they'll have someone to guide you. Unsure what bird it is? Their friendly guides will be at the stilt pools in Benbury to help you spot and identify the wildlife that you see. And you can park at the Ernley car park, which is PO27JL for reference, and walk from there or drop into the visitor centre at Siddlesham for further details. That's 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and drop in, and that's free. And on Sunday evening, well, it's Sunday evening at 6 o'clock at the East Beach Church in Marisfield Place, there are carols by candlelight. Now they've got hot mince pies available, so you can enjoy those as well. And that promises to be a very nice evening with carols for this time of year. And that's about it for this week, except to mention the Cloud9 pantomime Cinderella, featuring such local beauties as Abby Robinson as Cinderella, Mary Bensley as Prince Charming, and Sam Townsend as Buttons. Yes, Sam Townsend, he's quite good looking actually. And of course we've got the Uglies. That's Pete Driscoll and Les Hilton as the amazing Ugly Sisters. And boy, they're ugly. And a brilliant cast of over 30 children and adults will also sing and dance their way through this fantastic show. So in between Christmas and New Year, just when you need a bit of fun, this will be right up your street. Now it's on twice daily at 2:30 and 7pm from Monday the 28th, Tuesday the 29th and Wednesday the 30th of December at the Town Hall in Selsey. Adult tickets are £6, children and OAPs are £5, and these are available from the box office at High House Insurance, which is in Selsey High Street. And you can telephone 01243 606 552, or they might even be available on the door. But I wouldn't like to take a chance on that and wait and find out, because I think you'll be disappointed. Now, for the past couple of weeks, we've been trying to get out and about to interview people in their own surroundings, in their workplaces or their places of business, and this week's no different.
Our jaunt today, we're out and about, as our producer ordered, out in the wind and the rain and all sorts, and he must hate me. And we've come down to visit Andy Kendall at Aout Town, which is down in Park Lane in Selsey, and Andy's recently been granted permission by the council to build his aviaries where he's keeping some wonderful birds. And if you don't know about Aout Town, well, it pretty much describes itself. They keep birds of prey, mainly owls, and there's one sitting on a perch looking at me at the moment that looks to me about 6 feet tall, but I guess it's about 18 inches plus. But thankfully it's very friendly, because if it wasn't, it looks like it could be extremely dangerous. Good morning, Andy.
Morning.
Now, Aout Town, as I say, pretty much explains what it is. You use the birds for educational purposes, as much as, or perhaps more than anything else, I believe. Quite a bit of your time is taken up with educational.
It is certainly, yeah. We do a lot with local groups, well, all over Surrey, Sussex, Scouts. A lot more brownies than Scouts, because the brownies have the affinity with the owls. So,
that's right, yeah, brown owl.
Yeah, brown owls, snow owls, so we do an awful lot with the brownies, Scouts, and we're now starting to take a lot of schools on for educational meet and greets, really. We take the owls in and we tell them all about conservation, tell them about the characters of the owls, the diets. We take the food in and show them the food, which makes them a bit squeamish sometimes.
It wouldn't go down with all the kids, I guess. But
no, but then we've got to try and educate them that you don't want these, you don't want them as pets, and too many people are trying to buy them as pets now.
Yes, I believe they're becoming a bit of a vogue thing nowadays to get owls as pets, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because you probably know certainly better than I do, that they're quite easily available on the internet now.
They are, yes, unfortunately. I'm not going to mention the names. I'll let, if people want to go and look, they can look, but there's various sites that sell birds. Predominantly they used to sell doves and pigeons and parakeets, and they've now moved on to birds of prey. Unfortunately for the bird of prey world, it is a lot more difficult to handle and rear a bird of prey than it would be a budgie or something. But people don't take this on board, really. And
it's not just a size thing either, is it? It's a total temperament. I mean, some of your smaller birds, as I saw when I had a look around earlier on, probably not much bigger than an African grey parrot. Some
no, they're not.
Small.
Yeah, barn owls, some of the screech owls, they're that size.
So keeping a bird of prey like that as opposed to a cage-bred African grey parrot,
very different.
It's totally different.
It is. They need plenty of exercise. They need a varied diet of, we use mice, one-day-old chicks, which are the cock birds, not the hen birds. We also use rabbit, rats, pheasant, a bit of fox, any roadkill that we can find, and we're lucky enough that some of the people who go out and shoot deer and things after they've been involved in an accident, we get offered some of that food as well, which we can freeze up, get it out and thaw it out on a good day, and they can have a bit of deer as well. So.
A bit of venison.
Yeah.
They are spoiled. I have to say, this beauty, for the benefit of the people listening, sitting not more than a few feet away from me is a huge owl called Hazel.
European eagle owl, largest of the owl family.
And it is huge. It's got a wingspan of, I would guess, if it was to flap its wings, about 2 metres wide, or getting on that way.
Yeah, she has.
And she's sitting looking at me, and I'm wondering if she thinks I'm breakfast. But she's a very passive bird, thankfully. Now, do you get birds brought into you? I mean, do people phone up? Because we have a wild bird hospital, as it were, for want of a better word,
Brentwood Lodge,
fairly locally. But do they phone you if they get birds of prey in, or?
No, Brentwood Lodge don't need to. They've got a vet on site. I don't know Brent Lodge very well, but what they do is absolutely excellent. Anything that we can do, we support them definitely. Usually, I've not had a bird brought here because I've only been here about 6 months. We only moved here recently. The one bird that we have got is a male kestrel that was handed in. He's got an identity ring on, but we haven't been able to trace his previous owners. The trouble with him is he's obviously been captive bred and born and bred, but he's got a thing for going for people's faces and sticking talons in, which I would imagine that's why that bird's been released and let go, because they didn't know what to do with it.
Yes.
Somebody collected the bird up, brought him to us, and we can't re-release him. Really, at the end of the day, he's been too imprinted by humans, and that's where he's going to go all the time now, to human beings. So we will keep him. Hopefully we'll be able to find them. But any wild birds that we're brought in, we will always try and get them back out to the wild. That's where they belong, not with us. And what we'll tend to do is their injuries. I'm not a vet, I don't try to be a vet. There's certain things we can do, but otherwise they're going to be sent off to a vet, and it's up to the vet to make that decision as to whether they'll be destroyed or whether they should be kept in some form or another. But most wild birds, unfortunately, life is harsh for them out there, and if they're injured, they've usually sustained quite a bad injury. They're not going to get round from at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But no, people, I would say you'd be far better off going to Brent Lodge Wildlife. That's what they're keyed up for. That's what they do every day. And I would think that they'd be much better. And should they ever be stuck, and if they ever needed advice, I'd be more than happy to go around and give advice. But I don't think they need that. They've been going an awful long time now, so.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wondered, because you've recently moved here, if they, if there were particular birds, because not everybody could handle this kind of bird. And not everybody knows enough about this kind of bird.
Yeah. There's a lot of vets actually in practice who've never touched a bird of prey in their lives. We do have some people who contact us. Is it possible we could pop along and you could show us various things? Always more than happy to do that. At the end of the day, it's got to be about the welfare of the bird. And if somebody needs advice on the welfare of a bird, and I can give that advice, more than happy to, without a doubt.
And it's so the biggest thing really that you do is education about the
it is,
birds.
certainly.
I mean, you don't only have owls, as I saw, because there's a great big raven sat out.
We do have a raven. I bought, we call him Bertie. I was sat watching the Queen's speech on, the King's speech, the movie.
All right.
And Bertie come up, and we had Bertie in our hands at the time, and we hadn't a name for him, and we'll call you Bertie. But ravens are getting far and few between now. We still see lots of crows and rooks, still see lots of jackdaws, lots of magpies, which is all the same family. But we don't see many ravens now. So Bertie's going to end up with a girlfriend, I believe, at some stage, and yeah. I don't want to breed ever to sell to the public. It's one thing that I won't do. If somebody wanted to own a bird and they wanted my advice, I'd say come along and work with us for 6 months and learn what you can. And go from there really. They're not something you can just take on overnight. The diets are very varied. You've got to cook all of this food up, which obviously there's blood everywhere.
Yes, it's not everybody's cup of tea.
It's not everybody's cup of tea, no, it isn't.
When people decide that and it's usually the children, the same with puppies, I'll walk him, I'll take him for walks. Yeah. And we all know what happens.
A couple of weeks later, it's forgotten.
They know what is worn off.
And then the poor bird ends up being locked in some cage that it doesn't belong in the first place, and just literally left there for people to watch. And they deserve better than that. They deserve a life, not to be locked away in cages all the time.
No, that's right. I mean, when you take these out to schools and to brownies and different places you take them, you can understand why the kids especially would think that they're a perfect pet because they're quite docile, they sit on the perch, it's a great big bird and they can stroke it and it's good natured, and So why wouldn't you want it as a pet? You know?
Why wouldn't
But
you?
they don't understand all the rest of the stuff that goes with it.
No, they don't, which is what we try to get across to the school children and the brownie groups. We try to get it across to everybody, really. When we do go out in public, one thing I won't do is charge for photos. I don't believe that's good for the welfare of the bird. It's more about the welfare of the people who are keeping it.
Yeah.
So what we tend to do is, if you'd like to have hold of an owl and we're in public, please come and do so. Stand here for 10 minutes and listen to a bit about conservation, what we can do to actually help these out, why they don't make good pets, why you shouldn't be buying them for children. And that's how we tend to get the word across, rather than charging people for everything, which is, as I say, in my opinion, that's for the welfare of the keepers or the falconers or whichever you want to call them. I'm more interested in the welfare of the bird, not myself.
Now, I understand that you've been in this about 10 years or so, or maybe a little bit more. Before that, you were in the army for a spell. So
I was. I'd done 14 years with the Scots Guards. But the owls originally started when I was about 14. I rescued a barn owl, then I got another one handed to me. When I joined the army, I couldn't take the owls with me, unfortunately, so they were passed on to a friend. And he kept them for about 13 or 14 years, and they finally passed away and fell off the perch.
So you had 14 years in the army, and you've given these birds to your mate to look after, and of course, age took over the birds as well.
They did. Time in Bosnia were peacekeepers, and that's where the passion come back, really. Time in Bosnia we were in a lot of forests, and we couldn't move forward until we were told to move forward. And it's quite boring, really, as a soldier stuck in a forest. And I used to lay there with a broom and watch all the buzzards, owls, everything above me just freely flying around, doing what they wanted. And we don't tend to see that so much in this country, or we didn't. We are now. Red kites are making a huge comeback here. We're now starting to see a lot more buzzards. We're starting slowly but surely to see more and more kestrels, it's all good. It means that we're starting to get things right again. We brought the balance back the other way. But about 14 years ago, I left the army after doing 14 years. Ended up on the streets for 2 years. Couldn't sort myself out, really. Expected the council to give me a house for some reason, or a flat when I left, and that wasn't the case. It's sort of, you're a single man, you're on your way, join the list, will be about 3 years before you get a house. So didn't want to go back to my parents and put a lot on them, especially at the age I was. They're finished with me now and I'm finished with them, so to speak. So I lived under a bridge under the A1 near Bedfordshire for quite a while. I didn't want to be at home and be homeless, and people to know that fact. A little bit of pride left in me. So I moved away for the 2 years. Then I met my current partner, and she gave me a lovely home, and she loved me to bits. So the next question was, can I have an owl? Why do you want an owl? Because I really want an owl. I've had them before, and it's just something that's missing in my life, really. Then I got diagnosed through combat stress with PTSD. This is what had happened and why I'd made myself homeless, really. And the time I was homeless, things took on. Didn't really realise what was happening to me. Thought it was depression, etc. But it was a PTSD. Ended up getting the owl, and then it's gone from there, really. We now have 35, 23 are rescues or rehomes, and 12 is part of my wish list of the definite owls that I would like to own in my life.
If anybody can hear the or wondering what's going on in the background with the screeching, sitting by me is this huge owl, this eagle owl, that's sitting very quietly, but in a cage kept in here because they're this year's birds. There are two very small owls, about not much more than 6 or 7 inches tall.
They look like spuggies, don't they? Sparrows.
They're very vocal, and they don't like. We've moved them into the back room, and they don't like that. So they're making their presence felt.
They're burrowing owls, and they come from America. Not mine aren't from America. They're all born and bred captively in this country. I wouldn't buy any owls outside of this country because of the stress it would cause them to be brought here in the first place. I have one very good, decent breeder who is the only person that I'll use should I wish to buy an owl. The reason for that is you've got to be educational, and he does check it out. And if you're not educational, you don't get one of his owls.
No, that's a good sign anyway.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Dave the owl, he lives up in the Wirral, so he's quite an amusing character. He's got some, he must have 300 owls in his back garden. Most makes and sizes you could ring Dave, and and he's a good source of information as well. Should you need to know anything, he's a very good source of information, because that's what he's done most of his life. Breed owls for educational purposes and various birds of prey.
Now, as you've got a vast array of different owls out there. You were telling me earlier on about one that's in particular danger of becoming extinct.
It is. We've got an owl, we call him Paddy, named after Paddy Ashdown, or Paddy Padsdown. He's an ashy-faced barn owl, and not his particular story, but the story of the breed is they come from an island called Hispaniola in Tortuga. And unfortunately for the owls, they decided that, and you can see where they come from, small islands, they need money coming in as well. They decided that they'd deforest most of the island, and unfortunately picked the owls up that were there, and they moved them across to another island about 13 or 14 miles away, I think it is, off its coast, called Tortuga. And unfortunately for the owls, Tortuga has become quite popular with tourists due to the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yes, indeed.
And unfortunately, and as I say, you can't blame them. We all need money coming in, especially these tiny islands. But they decided to start deforesting the Isle of Tortuga as well, to build hotels and various other things for the people to visit the island. It was used some 200 years ago by pirates, mainly Dutch, I believe. And Paddy's a nice brown colour. He's not a white barn owl like we have in this country. He's a lovely brown with a grey face, and what we like to tell people is that all of the colours have leached out of the pirate's treasure and landed on his feathers, and that's the colour of the ears, and that's why. And a lot of people tend to believe it, but then we tell them the truth.
All you need now is a visit from Captain Jack Sparrow.
That's the one.
And
yeah.
you completed the scene, as it were.
Yeah, with Paddy, unfortunately, because they've now deforested it, he is going to become extinct in the wild. There are plenty held in captivity, but in this country we couldn't do a breeding programme and release him in this country because he's not a natural owl of this country. Everything else around him will hunt him down to kill him. So we couldn't release him in this country, so we're not going to start a breeding programme here. Your average barn owl could live 24, 27 years in captivity, and Paddy's only 3 years old anyway, so hopefully he'll be around for a few years to come.
Yeah. Now, I know what sort of things that the owls eat. Day-old chicks and rats of various sizes and mice. Sort of how many of those sort of things do you get through in a month?
1 day-old chicks, or 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. It depends with the chicks. You're using them a lot more than you're using mice and everything. It's more sheely because of the expense of a mouse nowadays. To buy a frozen mouse, you're looking at 79, 89 pence. You couldn't afford to feed mice every day. We do use rats, but also what we tend to do when we're driving around and we're going to visits and things, any roadkill, pick it up, use it. They don't mind eating it, providing it's not full of maggots, because I wouldn't eat that myself. I'm not expecting the owls to do it.
No.
But you can normally tell that it's reasonably being killed early-ish. So we normally get a bit of roadkill. And as I say, we've got a few people who go around on behalf of the police when there's been an accident with animals, and they will shoot them to put them out of the pain and the misery, and we'll get them offered to it as well. As long as we can remove the round and we can find the round that's been used to kill it, we'll remove the round, freeze it, get bits out as we need it, and cut it up, and nice bit of venison for them sometimes.
Well, I was going to say they do good well, what it sounds like.
But they'll also eat fox, partridge, pheasant, anything, as long as it's meat.
Now, talking of fox, sorry to interrupt there, talking of fox, but I think of it, I believe you had some trouble with a fox that cost you one of these. wonderful birds.
We did.
Recently.
Yeah, we had a lovely little Scots owl called Dennis, who was he was a rescue himself when we got him at about, I think he was about 18 months old when we got him. He come from a lady in Devon, and she bought this little owl because she thought it'd be a good thing as a pet, and he lived underneath her staircase. She put up her netting over the door of her staircase, and that's where he lived. And eventually she felt a little bit guilty and thought that this is not the right thing to do, he deserves better. And we rehomed him, and he'd been coming on visits with us for 5 years. Everybody absolutely adored him, lovely little owl. And unfortunately I had an accident with a fire and burnt my hand needing skin grafts at the time. And we had 2 foxes come in one night, and they chased him from one side of his aviary until he tired out, and he landed on the mesh of his aviary, and one of the foxes jumped up and caught him by his leg and pulled his leg off. We took him down to the vets. Unfortunately, about within 36 hours, I was sat watching TV with him, giving him a cuddle, and he passed away in my hands, unfortunately.
No, it's a shame.
Yeah, lovely little owl he was, he really was.
I know it's nature, but it doesn't make it any easier to be honest.
It doesn't, no.
The foxes are only trying to feed their own, so
They are.
it's all part of the food cycle, much as these birds eat mice and rats and stuff.
What we tend to do with the foxes now is we've put a 6-foot fence up right away around, electrified it. We've stopped the foxes coming in, thankfully. Touch wood, they've stopped coming in, but I'm sure they'll find a way eventually. But what we have decided to start doing is we have a lot of rabbit around, not just on our field and other people's. Some of the Harris hawks like to catch rabbits, and we will use some of that to feed them to the foxes. We chuck it over the fence, give them something to eat, and we have noticed since we started doing this that the foxes are just staying away.
Hopefully that will lead to a very peaceful coexistence.
We hope so, yeah. Everything deserves its place on this planet, foxes included, and hopefully we can try and coexist alongside them. It is difficult. You tend to want to destroy everything because of what they've done, but
yeah,
as you say, it's nature. It's not always kind. It's cruel sometimes,
yeah,
and it's all part and parcel.
When one of your birds catches a rabbit, but it's not good for the rabbit. But
no. One thing we do.
It's nature once again.
Yeah, one thing we do like to do, if we do take the birds out hunting, I don't like anything at all to suffer in any way. So the birds are going to kill it very quickly and very promptly, and if they don't, we're going to be in there to do the job for them.
Yeah.
It's one thing I will say. I've seen people hunt with birds, and some people, I can only say that it's sick that they like to hear bunny rabbits screaming while something's trying to kill them.
Yeah.
I don't think anything deserves that really at the end of the day.
As we well know, there are some strange people about.
They are, yes.
And unfortunately some of them do get to keep birds like this.
They do. They do, yes.
And thankfully there are people like yourself that whose only interest really is in the health of the birds themselves and the well-being of the birds themselves.
It is, definitely. And the education of people, because we're not going to see them if we don't educate people.
Absolutely, I believe most of what you do is education.
Yeah.
To different groups, although you do take them round to visit the old folks.
We do a lot with dementia, which satire, it can be quite funny at times, it can be quite humorous. Lots of young people tend to think that people are getting old and they're losing their mind, and that they're not really. But I've noticed with dementia and Alzheimer's, we do some with autistic children, Asperger's. They don't like huge crowds around them. It confuses them. So we like to take them away to one side and let them meet the owl and things. But especially the ladies and gents that we meet with dementia in some of the care homes. Absolutely fantastic, and we've been doing it 6 years now in the care homes. And they're not able still to recognise us as people, but they remember the animals. Yeah. They remember them. The minute you walk in with them, where's Dennis? Unfortunately, we haven't got Dennis now. But Dennis was a really loved owl by lots of people with dementia. And yeah, they recognise the animals straight away, without a doubt.
Oh, that's great stuff. Well, thanks for inviting us down, Andy, and giving us an insight into what you do and how you're getting on down here. In case people are looking, they can find your information, and I'll give the details of that in a minute, but you don't really do displays down here. You go out and do displays, right?
We go out and do displays. We're better known for that. I was about time we come to here.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't want to take birds out. It was always run from a centre and you had to come to them. But people with dementia, various other disabilities that we deal with, they're not able to get here.
No.
So we will go to them quite happily, more so. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, thanks once again, Andy, and I'm sure we'll be visiting you in the future to get an update on how everything's going, because you've not long started putting your aviaries up.
We haven't. No, we've just got planning permission, thankfully, to get them finished now and stop this nasty wind that blows through all the time. Get some nice trees up. We've redone our paddock this year and we've put a lot of wild flower seeds down the bottom. I've put a lot of poppies in, being an ex-soldier. I want to feel the rent, to be honest. But it's all about mixing in with the community and joining in, really. Yeah, that's what we're about.
Well, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. See you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Well, that was Andy Kendall there, and Andy really knows his stuff about owls, and he's a really interesting guy to talk to. But in an effort to get back into the warm, we now go over to the kitchen, and today we've got recipes for a full Christmas dinner. And for starters, we're going to have individual smoked salmon terrines. Now, how does that grab you? And this is what we need. 500 grams of thinly sliced smoked salmon, 300 grams of creme fraiche, 100 grams of cream cheese, 5 tablespoons full of lemon juice, 2 teaspoonsful of finely chopped fennel, and it's optional really because fennel's quite strong, 3 tablespoons of olive oil plus a drop extra for greasing, 1 teaspoonful of caster sugar, and 1 cucumber thinly sliced. And we'll also need some finely chopped fresh dill and a few extra sprigs just for the garnish. And this is what we do. In a food processor, whiz 200 grams of the smoked salmon and then add the creme fraiche and cream cheese. And scoop this into a bowl and fold in 2 tablespoons full of lemon juice, a pinch of salt, some pepper and the fennel if you're going to use it. Now, very lightly oil 8 by 100 milliliter moulds or ramekins and line with the remaining slices of smoked salmon, allowing them to hang over the edges. Now spoon the pâté between the moulds or ramekins and fold the salmon over to cover. Cover with cling film and chill for 2 hours or even overnight. Mix the remaining lemon juice, olive oil and sugar together. Divide the cucumber between plates. Turn the terrines out onto the cucumber and garnish each with a dill sprig. And sprinkle the cucumber with chopped dill and spoon over the dressing. And that's the starter. Right, now, moving on, we come to the bird itself, the classic roast turkey. And this is what we need. A 5 kilogram fresh free-range turkey. Well, of course, if you can't get a fresh free-range turkey, we'll get another one. But 5 kilos, that's about 11 pounds, so 11 or 12 pound turkey. 2 lemons quartered, 50 grams of goose fat, 6 onions quartered, and a large bunch of fresh rosemary. And this is what we do. Season inside the turkey with a little salt and black pepper, then pop in the lemon quarters, and leave to sit at room temperature for an hour. Weigh the turkey and calculate the cooking time at 20 minutes per 500 grams, so 20 minutes per half kilo. And so a 5 kilogram turkey will take 3 hours and 20 minutes. Second, grease the tin with a little goose fat, then arrange the onions and rosemary sprigs over the base. Sit the turkey on top, then spread the bird with the remaining goose fat and season with salt. Preheat the oven to 190 degrees centigrade, that's for fan oven 170, or gas mark 5. Cover the breast of the turkey with foil and cook in the oven for the calculated cooking time, basting with the juices occasionally. About 30 minutes before the end of the cooking time, remove the foil, add the stuffing balls to the tin at this stage, so don't forget to put those in, and return the turkey to the oven. And check that it's cooked through by pushing a skewer into the thickest part of the thighs. And if the juices are still pink and not clear, well, return it to the oven for a further 15 minutes before you test it again. Now, transfer the turkey to a board and cover lightly with buttered foil, and leave to rest in a warm place for 30 minutes. Present on a platter lined with herbs. We use rosemary and bay leaves, but you can use whatever you like. And arrange the stuffing balls around and serve with aioli and or gravy. And using goose fat is the best way to get a crispy finish to both your Christmas bird and the roast potatoes, so bear that in mind. What stuffing balls, I hear you say? Well, here we go. Here's the recipe for the stuffing balls that you thought I'd forgotten. Right, and this is what we need. 1 teaspoonful of sunflower oil plus an extra drop for greasing. 2 rindless dry cured streaky bacon rashers finely chopped. 15 grams of butter. Half a small onion finely chopped. 40 grams of celery finely chopped. Half a small Cox's apple peeled, cored and finely diced. 75 grams of good quality pork sausage meat. 40 grams of soft prunes finely diced. 15 grams of fresh white breadcrumbs. Half a tablespoonful of finely chopped fresh hyssop or thyme, and 2 teaspoons of beaten egg. And this is what we do. Heat the oil in a small frying pan, then cook the bacon until golden. Add the butter, onion and celery, then fry gently for 5 minutes until the onion is soft and golden. Add the apple to the pan and fry for a further 2 minutes, then season lightly and transfer to a large bowl to cool. Now, secondly, mix the sausage meat, the prunes, the breadcrumbs and the thyme or hyssop into the cooled onion and apple mixture. Season, now bearing in mind that the sausage meat might be salty. Stir in the egg to bind the mixture together, then use your hands to shape it into 6 evenly sized balls, or 8, or however many people you got coming for lunch. Put in the tin with the bird, as described earlier, until they're golden brown. Now, if you've never had hyssop, or hyssop, depending on how you'd like to pronounce it, it's a rather old-fashioned herb, and it tastes a bit like a cross between thyme and mint. And if you can't get hold of it, well, use thyme instead. But that's the stuffing balls. The stuffing balls that Santa Claus forgot. Right, now that's enough of the cooking, Sherry, I fear. And we move on now with the veg. And this is what we need. 2 kilograms of floury potatoes, such as King Edward's, peeled and cut into chunks. 2 tablespoonsful of plain flour. 1 kilogram of parsnips, cut lengthways into halves or quarters, depending on how big the parsnips are. 1 kilogram of carrots chopped into chunks, and 200 grams of beef dripping. And this is what we do. Boil the potatoes in a large pan for 5 to 10 minutes until they're starting to soften, then drain and leave them to steam dry in the colander for 5 minutes. Tip them back into the pan, scatter over the plain flour and some flaked sea salt, and shake the pan to roughen up the edges. Lay them on trays, cool and freeze on the trays for 1 hour until the edges are solid. Now, to serve these, heat the oven to 200 degrees centigrade or 180 degrees if it's a fan oven or gas mark 6. Divide the dripping between 2 large shallow roasting tins, then heat in the oven, and once the fat is smoking and beginning to spit, remove from the oven and add the frozen potatoes with the carrots and the parsnips, and season and toss to coat in the fat. Now return them to the oven and roast for 50 to 60 minutes until the potatoes are golden and the carrots and parsnips are soft, and serve immediately. So you need to do that just as you're coming up ready to serve up your dinner. Alternatively, you can partially cook the potatoes up to the end of step 1. That's where you lay them on a tray and freeze them, and then you can freeze them in a bag for up to 3 months, and then pull them out and roast them for 50 to 60 minutes on the day you're going to serve them, and then chop the parsnips and carrots the night before, wrap in damp kitchen paper and store those in the fridge so it's all ready to go when you are. So you can do the preparation in advance for that, and that's always useful when it comes to Christmas dinner. And what about the Brussels sprouts, I hear you cry? Well, we haven't forgotten the sprouts either. These sprouts are a little bit different. We thought we'd dress some sprouts up a little bit for Christmas. And this is Brussels sprouts with crispy bacon. And this is what we need. 750 grams of Brussels sprouts, trimmed and the outer leaves discarded. 16 streaky bacon rashers. 1 tablespoonful of olive oil and a good knob of butter. And this is what we do. Bring a pan of water to the boil. Add the sprouts and boil for 3 to 4 minutes or until nearly tender. Drain. Refresh in cold water, then drain again and cut into half. Now, using the back of the knife, stretch each rasher of bacon to about double its length and cut each rasher in half, then roll them up tightly. Heat the oil in a frying pan and fry the bacon rolls, turning occasionally until crisp. Drain off most of the excess oil, then add the knob of butter and the sprouts to the pan and toss well to warm the sprouts for a few minutes. Season with black pepper and serve. That's simple enough, isn't it? Now, from my Posh Nosh cookbook, we've got pigs in blankets, only these are pigs in blankets with a bit of a difference. And this is what we need. 8 rashers of streaky bacon, 16 small fresh rosemary sprigs, 16 chipolatas and 2 tablespoonsful of honey. And this is what we do. Preheat the oven to 200 degrees centigrade or 180 if it's a fan oven, gas mark 6. Using the back of the knife, stretch the bacon rashers until double the length, then cut in half. Place a rosemary sprig on each chipolata and wrap with half a rasher of bacon. Place them in a roasting tin and cook for 10 minutes, then drizzle with the honey, turning them over to make sure they're nice evenly coated, and then cook for a further 10 minutes until they're sticky and golden brown. And that's pigs in blankets with rosemary and honey. Now I'm sure to complement what you've done so far, you're going to want some sauces. So there's a couple of recipes for sauces, and we start off with a classic cranberry sauce. And this is what we need: 75 ml of good quality pork, the finely grated zest and juice of 1 orange, plus you might want a little extra juice for later, 50 grams of light brown soft sugar, and 400 grams of cranberries. And this is what we do. Set a heavy base pan over a medium heat, then add all the ingredients except the cranberries, stirring until the sugar is dissolved. Add the cranberries, then simmer for 8 to 10 minutes until they begin to burst and the sauce starts to thicken. Taste to see if you need any more sugar or if you need to drop more orange juice. Take off the heat and leave it to cool, and make sure you leave it to cool completely before serving it, because if you serve it hot it will be like sticky hot jam. And so on to our second sauce, which of course is bread sauce. And this is what we need: 1 onion halved, 6 cloves, 600 ml of whole milk, 5 black peppercorns, 2 bay leaves, 125 grams of fresh white breadcrumbs, a knob of butter, and grated fresh nutmeg to taste. Stud the onion halves with the cloves and place in a medium saucepan with the milk, peppercorns and bay leaves. Bring to the boil, turn down the heat, then simmer gently for 5 minutes. Remove from the heat, then leave to infuse for an hour or so. Strain and discard the solids. Pour the infused milk back into the pan. Beat in the breadcrumbs and half the butter and simmer gently for 5 minutes to thicken. And just before serving, beat in the rest of the butter, season and grate in nutmeg to taste. Spoon into a bowl and serve with the turkey. Wonderful. And finally, we need to make some gravy. Now you can either use the giblets from the turkey to do this, or you can use 600 ml of chicken stock. And this is what we need: 25 grams of butter, the turkey giblets, or 600 ml of chicken stock, 3 celery sticks roughly chopped, 2 carrots roughly chopped, 1 onion roughly chopped, 3 fresh bay leaves, 8 black peppercorns, 3 tablespoons full of plain flour, and 150 ml of dry white wine. And this is what we do. Melt the butter in a large pan over a medium heat, add the giblets and vegetables and fry for 8 minutes until golden. Add the bay leaves, peppercorns and 1.5 litres of water, bring to the boil and simmer for 1 hour. Strain the stock into a jug, you should have around 600 ml, set that aside to cool slightly, then discard the fat from the surface. Now if you don't want to do stage 1 and stage 2 there, you can just make 600 ml of chicken stock and use that in place of it. Place the turkey's roasting tin on the hob over a medium-high heat. Add the flour and stir for 1 minute. Gradually stir in the wine, bring to the boil and reduce by half. Add the stock and any of the turkey's cooking juices and bring back to the boil. Reduce to a simmer for 15 minutes to thicken. Discard any scum from the surface and then season it. And keep it hot and then strain to serve. And that's it. That's your turkey gravy, and that completes the main course. And that brings us on to dessert, and I'm afraid for me there is only one dessert to follow a fine festive Christmas dinner, and that's a Christmas pud. And there are some wonderful ones about. You can serve them with brandy butter sauce, with cream, with custard, so they're ever flexible. And so I would suggest that you follow it with a Christmas pud. And that's it. That's taken me 13 minutes and 28 seconds to cook the Christmas dinner. Well, of course, you could have Christmas pud with ice cream. And my next guest would be able to tell you exactly what ice cream you should have with that. With me now, I've got Caroline Spibey. Now, it's always nice to hear of a small business venture that does particularly well. And Caroline's small business venture is doing particularly well. And even at this time of year, where outside today it's pouring the rain, it's blowing a gale, it's freezing cold and horrible, and Caroline produces ice cream. but lots of people like to be sitting in the warm in restaurants eating ice cream. And the business has become award-winning. It's won many awards for its ice cream. Caroline, good morning.
Good morning.
Now, what made you decide actually to go into ice cream making as a business? Because for a farm it seems a bit of a strange thing to do.
Not really, because we're a dairy farm, so we produce a lot of milk. The reason we looked at ice cream was Chris, my husband, wasn't being paid the cost of production for his milk, so we needed to find another product using the existing one that we had and to add value to it. So we looked at cheese, and although we love cheese, it didn't quite, I don't know, we're never 100% enthusiastic about it. And then when we thought of ice cream, it hit the spot and we smiled, and that was it really. So off we went and started investigating.
And how long ago was that?
Oh, well, that's before we got married, and we got married in 2000. So we started thinking about it kind of 99, and then got married, and then shortly after that I was pregnant with Joseph, my first son. So the ice cream plans got put on the back burner for quite a few years, and then in 2007 I brought the idea back up again. How about making some ice cream? I'd still like to do it. And by this time I had Samuel as well.
I was going to say, you weren't expecting another child at that time, were you?
No, I'd
thought I could do with some carrot-flavoured ice cream
no,
or something.
I'd had my second boy. So, yes, and that's the start of it, really. And I found a grant to redevelop redundant farm buildings. So I had the corner of the building made into food standard rooms, so we could actually make ice cream in there.
So it really came about by the fact that you weren't getting paid for your milk, which of course is
It's happening again.
Well, it's happening again.
Happens all the time.
I wonder sometimes if we'll see things disappearing totally because farmers are not getting paid what they're worth. I know it's a totally separate argument, but it seems that the big conglomerates and the big superstores are dictating what they will pay the farmers, even if it's below production costs. And well, you can't produce something and then get less for it than it's cost you to produce it. No business on earth can do that.
You can do it for a short amount of time, but
well, you're using your own money for a short amount of time to support it,
and they don't seem to. They don't care very much. But when I first met Chris, I was absolutely horrified to find out that he was told how much he would be paid for his product. Where I'd always worked out in business, and you set your rate for a product or your time for what you think the market can withstand. And with dairy farms, with their milk production and lots of other farming products, they just get told how much they will be paid for it, and like it or lump it.
Yes, and of course,
it's wrong.
With the best will in the world, if you're producing at a loss, you can't sustain it because you're using your own money to sustain it. I mean, why would you do that? Why would you be in any business to produce any item that's going to cost you money?
Yeah, I think with farming, it's not a job; it's a way of life.
Well, it's a vocation.
They will put up with so much because it is a way of life, and they love their animals and they want to keep it going. There's not many people that could actually go out and buy or even rent a load of land and then have the finances to put up all these buildings that you need and have a milking parlour.
And of course,
it's terribly expensive.
The more and more rules and regulations coming in from Europe about what you can do and you can't do, and you've got to have this and you've got to have that, and it all leads to more expense. And yet the prices are being dictated to. I mean, I admire the farmers for absorbing it as long as they have, but it can't go on. It can't possibly go on. Not unless you've got a farmer that's a multi-millionaire that wants to lose his money over a few years. But I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, I think the most upsetting thing is that when a dairy farm will go into the supermarket and you'll have to pay more for a bottle of milk, water than you do for a bottle of milk. And where is the sense in that? Because food is, milk is a food, water's just water.
Milk's one of the first things as a human being, as a baby, one of the first things you have is milk.
And it's just being used as a byproduct, as lost leader in supermarkets.
The only benefit, of course, from it is there's businesses like yours that spring up. Somebody's used a bit of insight and a bit of foresight and said, well, if we can't sell the milk as milk, we need to make something else with it. And of course, this is happening all over the country, where now there are a wonderful array of cheeses available because most of those that have been in the same position as you have decided to make cheese with it. And so now, and if, like me, I'm a cheese lover, I shouldn't eat so much cheese as I do. But there are a wonderful array of cheeses about. But it still seems like a very niche market. If you go to any of the farmers' markets and that sort of stuff now, there are always cheese stalls selling a wide array of cheese, and they seem to give more away as tasters than they do actually sell. But
it is a way of getting people to actually try it, because people with the ice cream as well, when we go to events, we'll always take tasting spoons to get people to try something that they wouldn't normally have. Because we all do it. We all go to a shop and say you're looking for a tub of ice cream, and you're looking and think, well, that one sounds quite a nice one, but honestly I don't like it, and I planned this really nice dinner tonight, and it would be a real shame if it wasn't quite as good as what I expected, or it had a different flavour to what I expected. But I know if I have my original one that I have every week, I know that I'll be completely satisfied. And it is a safety thing. And so people won't try things very often. But if you can be there and actually hand out a free tasting on a spoon or a little piece of cheese,
People do tend to. I know I do. Could I taste a piece of that? Could I taste it? Because I just love the cheeses.
But what you shouldn't do is have so much that it counts for your lunch.
No, that's right.
Because people do that.
It's a bit embarrassing. It's when you start asking, have you got any biscuits to go with it, please?
I know. It's maybe a little too far.
But back to the ice cream. So you decided that you couldn't sell the milk for the price you wanted for it, so you were going to produce ice cream.
Just so it's clear, we didn't stop producing milk.
No.
We carry on, but what we did was we're using a very small amount of milk. Our milk goes to Marks and Spencer's. So we're one of 40 farms in the country that supply the milk to Marks and Spencer's. And we use a very small amount to make ice cream. So we have about 500 cows milking, and we produce about 5 million litres of milk a year. We use about 1/2% for the ice cream. Because the dairy farm, part of the dairy as a farm, is huge compared to what we are as a little ice cream company. So we're a dairy farm that just happens to make ice cream. We're not an ice cream company that just happens to have a few cows. It's the other way around.
Well, it's good we clarified. I was just thinking of 500 cows. How much ice cream does that work out at? But
a huge amount, masses.
But anyway, you decided to start making ice cream, and it went in leaps and bounds into success. Because you won numerous awards.
That's
I
right.
believe. I couldn't name one of them, I have to say, because there's so many awards around. But you've won numerous awards for your ice cream.
If I can just tell you about the award we're most proud of is in February, because we entered the National Ice Cream Competition, which is held in Harrogate, and we won the gold medal and got a great big silver cup for the salted caramel class, which is at the moment just in the restaurants. But, so we officially have the best salted caramel in the country for that.
Did it get to the point where you thought, this is getting a bit bigger than I wanted it to, or were you out to make it as big as you could?
I always knew that it would work. I didn't have any problem. I didn't have any worries about the ice cream not working and not selling. But I didn't think, at various times, I didn't think we'd be selling to British Airways, because we spent 2 years supplying them in the summer for their business class planes. We had 11 destinations out of the London City Airport. I never imagined we'd do something like that. We've got quite a number of the National Trust properties in the southeast. I'd not thought of that before, but it slowly just develops, and you'll meet somebody, and it's just happened with a lot of these things. It's just somebody that just happened to see my van and took the number down. Oh, there's the local ice cream. And it's just, I don't know, luck, being in the right place at the right time, but then also having the really good product that will back up.
Luck doesn't make the product, does it?
Luck's there for some part of it, but you've got to have something really good behind you to actually make the use of the luck that you get. So, I think we've worked very hard to make a really good quality ice cream, and we've got super milk, which is really creamy and sweet. And,
I was spoiled as a child with ice cream. We had, where I lived in Windsor at the time, an Italian family that had been there for years. You always imagine things are better when you're a kid, but this ice cream was world famous where we lived. but it was tremendous ice cream. So I've always been very critical when it comes to ice cream. It doesn't compare to Vitise's ice cream.
So what do you think of ours then?
I've not tried it, I have to say, because I'm diabetic.
How can you come here?
I'm diabetic, and so I have to be careful with fat intake.
So you do not have any when you go to Windsor? You can have it.
Well, the little shop's closed now, but I can.
You have small amounts of ice cream.
I find I don't have any willpower.
You need to know when to stop.
Small amounts of anything, no good to me. Unfortunately. I do sometimes. The wife likes our ice cream, and she likes ginger flavours and stuff like that. So occasionally I get a little spoon of that. If we go to the theatre and she feeds me a little half a spoonful of
natural quota,
and that's about it. Yeah, that's as much as I can do. And I really do like ice cream. So, how about flavours? How many flavours do you do?
Do lots of flavours now, but we don't actually make all of them at the same time. So what we've formulated is we have an all year round menu, which we're always looking at and changing. So we'll have a certain number of ice creams. So we have a chef's menu, which goes into the restaurants. And so you'll have all year round, 12 months a year, and then we'll have a summer menu and a winter menu. So
we're talking about ice cream here, folks. We're talking about summer and winter menus and an all year round menu.
Because you have flavours that are more appropriate for the summer, or fruits that are available in the summer, and then you have flavours that are more appropriate for the winter and Christmas time.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So that's how we've split it. And then we have another menu, which is the retail menu, which some flavours will cross over between the restaurants and the shops, but then there's a lot of flavours that will only work for the take-home menu, but will not work in a restaurant, and vice versa. So it's always a bit of a learning curve. To see which menu they'll end up in.
But obviously we're coming up to Christmas now. What would be the most popular flavour at this time of year for Christmas?
Always the most popular flavour throughout the year is vanilla, because I think it will go with, people put it with all sorts of accompaniments, and so it's not strong, it won't overtake the flavours in on any chef's dessert menu. Vanilla is always a very safe bet for everybody. But we are, this time of year in the restaurant, we've brought out Blackberry Fall. So it's in the restaurants and in the shops, and it's selling like wildfire. It's amazing. And it's beautiful colour, and it's got a fabulous flavour to it. So that's a new one. We've obviously got rum and raisin in the shops for Christmas. Another one for the restaurant is we've got honey with a whiskey ripple, which is
that could appeal.
Gorgeous, and gives you that lovely golden glow inside when when we have these horrible days where it's dark and windy and raining, and you can sit inside and in front of a fire and have this lovely ice cream. Makes you feel really good.
So a few people that think that ice cream making is simple.
It's not always simple.
It doesn't sound very simple to me. Well, more involved than I ever imagined. You know, when you open your little tub of ice cream in the theatre, or when you have ice cream as a dessert in a restaurant, you might look on it a bit differently now when you realise the thought that's gone into producing that particular ice cream for that particular time of year in that type of restaurant.
Well, that's it. And at the moment, we're actually working on the summer menu and winter menu for next year.
That far in advance?
Yeah, we're trialling flavours now, making up recipes. So it's quite a bit of fun, but you couldn't join in, I'm afraid, because you have to do a lot of tasting.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be somebody's favourite job, surely.
Yeah.
Do you employ a taster?
No, we do it.
That's it, why would you? Yeah.
We have lots of volunteers, though.
Yeah, I'm sure
But
you do.
if we are doing something and I have certain people around, then they come and join us. I do invite people sometimes.
Ah, you see, there are people trying to get on your invitation list.
Only if they can keep really quiet, because nobody's allowed to talk about it, you see. So the summer menu won't be announced until, well, it'll come out on the 1st of April.
Yeah, for obvious reasons, you need to keep that quiet.
Keep it quiet, and so build the anticipation before it all happens.
So you have secret tasting sessions and behind
so,
closed doors.
Yep.
People sworn to secrecy. We can't tell you, we'll have to kill you.
That's right.
You've obviously got a team behind you. You can't do this on your own. How many of you are there now?
Now I have Debs, who works in the office with me full time, and a lady called Sarah Bromfield, who actually lives in Selsey. She's with us 3 days a week. And then in the parlour making the ice cream, we have 2 full time, and who's Yolita and Bridget, and newest recruit is Louise. And at this time of year, she only works part-time, but then as the season builds up, she'll go to full-time.
Full-time. Ah.
And we have a delivery driver as well.
And how many kilos of ice cream do you produce?
Last year, we produced about 35,000 litres of ice cream.
That's an awful lot of ice cream.
It's a lot, isn't it?
35,000 litres.
But it was a lovely year last year. We had lots of sunshine, so...
Let's hope we do this year.
Or next year, we've done.
Oh, next year.
This year wasn't very good, was it? It wasn't. It was
well, yeah, it was something and nothing really this year.
Never warmed up, did it?
Wouldn't drive people to. Maybe you need to go international.
No.
Shipping ice cream.
No, you see, that doesn't interest me at all, doing anything like that, because the whole reason is we're a local ice cream. If I go further than regional, which is just the counties that abut us, so we can do Hampshire and Sussex, East Sussex and Surrey, then it's relevant what we are and who we are. But if I start selling ice cream to Birmingham or Nottingham, we're just another ice cream.
Just another ice cream manufacturer.
And that's it. We're not anything different.
Well, it's great that you want to retain your identity, which is a local ice cream maker, so that people like me can lie and say, you should taste Caroline's ice cream, it's wonderful. Because I've never tasted it, but I will make a point of tasting it. I will do. Well, thanks once again for our insight into the ice cream world. And if people want to contact you with regards to taking on your wares, as it were, and selling your ice creams in their outlets, how do they contact you?
If you go to our website, which is www.carolinesdairy.co.uk, and if you go into there, you'll find a page which is trade inquiries, and just fill in a few little parts. Give us your name and address or a contact number and what you'd like, and we'll get hold of you.
It's as simple as that.
Just pings an email straight to us, and then we'll contact you further.
Thank you once again, Caroline, for having us in.
Thank you.
The Weather Report.
And here we have a look at the weather for the coming 7 days. Well, Tuesday is going to be wet from the afternoon onwards, but the temperature is still going to remain mild at 14 degrees and a wind speed at about 17 miles an hour. On Wednesday there's a 40% chance of rain, temperatures remaining at 14 and the wind picking up slightly to about 20 miles an hour. Thursday, 40% chance of rain again, wind speeds 19 and temperatures 14 degrees. Friday, not so much chance of rain. Friday should be dry. Temperatures dropping slightly to about 13 degrees and the wind speed also dropping off a little bit to about 16 miles an hour. Saturday once again should be the same as Friday, dry, 1 degree warmer, and the wind's picking up slightly to about 19 miles an hour. Sunday, 40% chance of rain, still remaining very mild at 14 degrees, wind speeds picking up to 22. And Monday, a 30% chance of rain, temperatures sticking at around 13 degrees, and the wind speed west-southwest at 22 miles an hour. And that's about it for the coming week. A wet and fairly blustery week to look forward to, but remaining uncommonly mild for this time of year. And that's it for this week, and indeed for this year. We're going to be taking a Christmas break now, right through until the second week in January. Well, we won't stop working. We'll be out there gathering news and information for you. And it's just for me to say, on behalf of myself, Keith Barnes, and on behalf of my producer, John Fletcher, and our researcher, Jill Barnes, we'd like to wish you all a wonderfully Merry Christmas and a fabulous New Year, and we'll see you then. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.